Alright, check the stream there, Chris, if you can.
My favorite song is Skillet, The Resistance, just while we're talking and we're not really on a specific subject at the moment. That's my favorite song of all time.
Looks like
The Resistance, just while we're talking and
I like the songs from Doom franchise.
on a specific subject at the moment. That's my favorite. Excuse me?
I like the songs from Doom, the game.
Alright.
I've never played Doom. I've seen it, but I've never really played it. That's the thing with the demons on Mars, right?
Well, the Doomans. Did you just call them Doomans?
No, I called them
Yeah.
demons.
I just called them
Oh.
Doomans. Crying out loud.
It's not
Sorry.
your first exasperation, Z. Thanks to you, we have Frank, the impaled Blatzkowitz.
Who's eating chips? Who's eating chips?
I think that would be Z.
Sounds like pretzels.
Alrighty. I think everything is working here. Yep. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our... What is this? Fourth official one? Yep. Fourth official Monster Cast. Today we're going to be talking about... Today's topic is, in short, monsters with accessories. Monsters that use certain materials, tools, to enhance their lives in various ways. Welcome, everybody. We got...
Hello?
Thanks for the introduction offer. Well, not
No
introduction,
problem.
the welcoming.
We got Dog Danzo, we got Chris in the chat. Make sure this chat window is open. Oh, it's not open. Now it is. We got Dog Danzo, we got Chris, Procrastitron's back, Super OCD, made it from the beginning this time, and we got Z. So we got a couple of people returning, and then we got kind of a couple new ones. It's Dog Danzo's first time on the Monster Cast, and pretty much Super OCD's too. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
I am grateful to be here, even if I might be eating dinner, so just forgive me if I go silent.
No problem. I think I'll do the same when I'm not really talking. I'll just mute myself,
No worries.
just in case.
All right. So what time you guys got over there? How many people are in the evening? How many are in the afternoon?
For any time, really.
My time is 10 o'clock at night, so this is really late for me. Usually I'm asleep around 8 already.
No, 11 p.m. for me.
It's 9
Damn.
o'clock p.m.
PM. Okay. Wow, we got a lot of evenings.
Well,
Alrighty.
it's just a bit over 10 for me, don't worry. I'll be fine.
Good.
So
It's
Arthur, you're the
Saturday,
only one doing
guys.
day. Yeah, well, almost end of Saturday.
So not much for announcements.
So-
One thing I did want to say as far as these monster casts go is I'm not sure yet if I'm going to be putting all of them on YouTube or what. I need to figure out what I want to do exactly with these on the channel. But you will be able to find them on Twitch. So not sure if they're going to be Twitch exclusive only. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please let me know in the comments if you would like to definitely see these on YouTube, or don't comment if you don't care either way. But they might become an exclusive thing for Twitch, just not sure yet, or maybe the best ones for YouTube. I'm not sure. So anyway, let's get the topic started. I guess a good spot to start it, as I think Chris mentioned last or a couple weeks ago, was the Predator, the Outjaws.
Yeah, before we delve into that topic, can I just request for all of us to agree on something? The latest The Predator movie is not canon. Can we agree on that?
Seriously?
I have not seen
Watch it.
Didn't watch it, but I thought it was canon. I mean, most of the movies follow up on each other, don't they?
What is the canon?
Well, see, canon's always a touchy end. picky subject. Alien is making this controversial,
I would love to explain, but I would have to spoil basically the whole movie for you to explain why it's horrible. Let me just say this. After watching the Predator movie, to me, unironically, Aliens vs. Predator Requiem is now a good movie.
Well, that says a lot.
I'm not sure.
Then maybe the best option is to make it not canon, just for this conversation.
I'm thinking I
I'm not gonna watch
enjoyed...
it, so...
Because I was thinking about when you mentioned that at first, Chris. By the way, super OCD, you might want to watch your microphone. You're shuffling a lot there.
OCD, are you moving or what are you doing?
It sounds terrible.
Sorry.
She is battling.
I couldn't
Battling the elements.
So yeah, I was thinking about what you mentioned, Chris, and I still have to put this new Predator movie above Requiem.
You saw it.
I did. I saw it last weekend. I don't know, maybe it's the teenager type theme of what Requiem that sets it lower, but anyway.
The one thing I'll give this movie over, Requiem tried to be 3 edgy 5 me, but when you, what Procrastinatron mentioned in its main voice, remove that scene. Requiem, in my humble opinion, is a much superior film to this latest Predator thing.
So, what
at least
monsters
lore-wise.
we have that would use these kind of excessive technological tools?
Which scene were you mentioning there, Chris?
I'm sorry, what?
Which scene were you mentioning?
Did I cut out during something?
Halfway through, yeah, for me.
As I was saying, so what Procrastinatron is saying about that scene with the pregnant woman, remove that one scene. And in my humble opinion, the Requiem movie is a better film than the latest one, at least in terms of lore. Because... why?
Arthur and Chris, in your guys' opinions, Arthur first and then Chris, out of from a range from 1 to 10, what would you rate the new Predator movie as?
I feel like we should mention this due to this is a meme and monsters with accessories sounds exceedingly like the little trend that was with...
we were asked a question. Do not change topic so quickly.
Aw, sorry.
Well, to answer your question, Doc Danzo...
It's a good subject I'm going to change it into.
We'll jump into the topic very quickly. Doc Danzo, my answer, I need some more time to reflect upon it, really, to give a rating. So...
Okay, alright. And you, Chris? What would you say? 1 being terrible and 10 being great. Obviously, you're not on the great side, so where would you say...
100.
Holy hell, okay.
Well, it would almost be like you had a certain, what is it called? Vendetta against it?
Requiem is -50 for me.
Then I'm definitely not watching it.
That thing stayed closer to the canon. Requiem stayed closer to the... made more sense than that movie.
Okay, well, starting with that movie and with the topic, one thing I wanted to mention, what they showed, we all know that the Predators have this, what is the word? Not camouflage, cloaking ability, right?
Invisibility cloaks.
Right.
Yeah.
And that movie showed how that's done. I don't really like how they showed it, so basically... It's a minor spoiler. It's not really a spoiler for the lore of the movie or anything. But basically, it's a little metal ball that you hold in your hand and you somehow activate it and it cloaks your whole body. And I'm not a big fan of that.
Does the ball...
Sorry,
Alpha, but does the ball have to be attached to your body in order to make you invisible, or is it just something you crush and then you're invisible? How does that work?
It stays there, so you basically activate it with your hand, and yes, you have to hold it somehow, activate it, and then deactivate it.
The main character, man guy, swallowed it and became invisible.
Well, no,
Ouch.
he swallowed it to get to bring it back to the U.S.
It's not the gauntlet thing, which we've seen in every movie. Whenever they go invisible, they kind of use that. Whenever it gets damaged, they stop being invisible. No, it's just a ball.
Right. That's what kind of messed it up, because when I was doing the Predator video and researching how it's possible for them to cloak, a lot of like fan theory and ideas there go around the whole fishnet outfit that they wear. And I like that idea, because that fish netting kind of covers most of the body, and it's a little bit more logical than this little ball. And you never see them holding it or anything.
Yeah, I think I agree with that one. A large thing covering your body would make much more sense than some sort of magnetic ball just covering you. That would make the entire area around you invisible, not just
Right.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really poorly thought out.
I'm sorry, but where was the Twitch link again? I kind of lost that.
I'll link you.
Yeah, go ahead
Thank
and
you.
link 'em. It's almost like one of those fantasy movies, like a Harry Potter movie. You hold a ball and you disappear. See, in that theme, it works, but in the Predator and sci-fi,
It doesn't make sense.
yeah, things are a bit more
Other
logical and, well, technological. So I guess that's one fail there.
Another idea for a podcast you might have, Arthur,
Mhm.
us talking about monster movies and basically going
Yeah,
ham.
we need that.
That would be awesome.
I'll
I
make a
mean,
note.
most of my monster movies involve some kind of large, oversized monster. But
Well,
see.
that stuff with queens, yes, like aliens with queens, but normal monsters, like let's say a werewolf, not really. I mean, normal monsters, not really.
I mean, by this logic that we are talking about now, vampires would be, monsters with accessories too, due to all the swag they have living in large castles and such.
By accessory, I think they actively use
Yes,
thing
yes.
that helps them be more effective at being monsters.
Right. Something
and
they
having cool
require.
swag.
Something they require for
Let
battle
me expel something
or
very stupid
existence.
in the main Vox cavern now. The most stupid accessory a monster ever utilized, but also the most effective. To terrorize the internet.
By the way, guys, a quick mention I wanted to shout out here. I was reading my comments today, and under the Sasquatch comment, I think, I found this comment about this. It's unrelated, but it is monster, so I just wanted to shoot this out real quick. It was somebody commenting that it's the first time they heard the term Sasquatch, and he was telling me about his experience of visiting Pakistan, and he saw a woman covered with fur run out and run back into the woods, and people refer to these folks as Barmanu. And I have you should be able to see what I'm looking at on the stream right now. So it's kind of interesting because I haven't heard of Sasquatch or Bigfoot related cryptos in cryptids in Pakistan. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there.
Resist the temptation to make edgy joke, Chris. Resist the temptation.
I mean, it could just be a drunk guy.
Well, actually, what he saw was a female covered with fur some years ago. So, and the people have this saying about them that they might act and look like humans, but they certainly aren't. As soon as you get close to them, they'll hurt you or destroy you. So, anyway, all right, back to monsters with accessories. So the other thing with the Predator is, it uses the gauntlet, and the gauntlet covers a wide variety of things. It covers the self-destructive device, and we can imagine it covers a lot of other things, as again I mentioned in the All About
that
video.
shoulder cannon.
Like the what?
I mean, how many times was it we saw that shoulder cannon? I do not remember.
The shoulder cannon.
Basically every movie.
Right.
I don't remember it having it in the first one, but maybe that's just me.
And that's where they
Then
kind
again-
of messed it up in the movie, because shoulder cannon should have some kind of relation maybe with the helmet or the gauntlet. The helmet and the gauntlet seem like very important devices that correspond with the other ones, but the shoulder cannon in the movie kind of acts by itself, which was kind of silly.
It's from what I've been able to see regarding it can be controlled alternatively between either of the gauntlet or the helmet. It just depends on. I think the helmet is more of a aiming system, whilst the gauntlet has the trigger essentially.
Right. And yeah, and that would make sense too, whereas in the movie it just acts by itself, somehow connecting with the person. So like in the movie, like they shot or somebody hit at the beginning, a boy threw something at the, wait, that wasn't the helmet. That was the helmet, that wasn't the thing.
Well, weirdly enough, to bring an example up from a Requiem, we could see that through his visor, the Predator Wolf, his helmet locked on. The vision of his helmet locked onto multiple targets, and that's what caused the plasma casters to actually fire at them. It was not just out on its own. He used the plasma caster as a form of guiding system for the shots.
Okay. All right. So again, that makes more sense even.
Yes.
I'm sorry about that crown popping up in the middle of the chat. I just feel like it was been terrorizing the entire internet for the last week.
Terrorize? That's not how you spell delightify.
I mean, it's to fit the concept, monsters. I mean, I would say Bowser if anyone is a monster. I mean, that guy has more accessories than your average teenager with a handbag. You won't believe the amount of things they can have in that. No offense to anyone out there that might be listening to this and have a handbag filled with all the accessories. You're not monsters. I'm just saying that. Bowser is.
Swiss Army handbag. So, what do you guys think? I guess let's leave the Predator topic for now, and let's see what you guys came up with. What did you find in this topic?
Well, one creature you can say I wanted to bring up is actually a hero from the game League of Legends called Rengar, who is technically an emulation of the Predator, you could say.
I thought you were going to bring up Trundle of all things, but he's having a giant chunk of ice, so that's not nice. Go on, sorry.
As he is also, it's not less of a monster nowadays since they changed the lore how there is a race of people like him. But essentially, he is this very prideful hunter and he for the specific time period, it's a fantasy world essentially, and while it's nowhere near the magical technology stuff used in some other parts of the world, he has some pretty well crafted weapons and traps like bolas, his claws and daggers, you can see, and he also somehow goes invisible like the Predator, but I'm not sure how he does that.
That's probably magic.
Likely.
I mean, if we should go in with what's called monsters with accessories, how many times have trolls not been depicted with some kind of they are those natural kind of things, but some of them have been depicted as downright intelligent. Well, intelligent is a generous word, but they have been depicted to not just live in cave for the reason. They have been said to use tools and such.
Now, is this?
That's not as impressive looking in the back mirror with just having talked about the Predator, but I thought that was an honorable mention at least.
Where is this creature from, Chris? Or
this is Rengar from League of Legends.
Okay, thought it would be from League of Legends. Looking at the concept art. Okay, so yeah, I can definitely see that. It's pretty cool because
Yeah, essentially, this is a guy who made his home in like the nastiest jungle on the planet, and has a cave full lined with trophies, similar to the ship from Predator 2.
Mm-hmm.
Would cybernetics be classed as accessories?
No, it seems to be any kind of what's it called, doodah that will make you go, I'm more scary now.
I
But
guess
that logic, the chainsaw
technology.
massacre would also be having an accessory in a nice big chainsaw.
I guess to keep it an accessory, it depends how complex it is. So, cybernetics to a degree, because like we were talking with the Predator,
well,
like you can consider the helmet even.
Mentioned. Cat, I'm sorry. Necrons do not use tools as per se accessories. They are tools per se.
Right.
So I cannot just mention Necrons without having a reason for that.
So again, accessory would qualify more as a. It could be cybernetic, but it would have to be somewhat more simplistic, like an accessory, like the helmet of the Predator or the shoulder cannon. To some degree, there's cybernetic technology involved in it.
Well, let's see, what other monsters do we have? I swear I had something that didn't just equipped with a knife or something.
So,
Till you look at what I was generally thinking, not counting the Predator, would be essentially even if we dial down the advancement to say medieval level or even feudal times, monsters would have just finely crafted sort of weapons for. Well, not finely crafted, but more dangerous, you could say. And a good example is, since Procrastinator wants to get Warhammer into the mix, would be the orcs from Warhammer Fantasy, because they make some crazy-looking stuff that is essentially metal, nailed and hammered together.
Right.
But it still does the job.
They're a refurbished army.
One thing does the job, there's no reason to change it.
Yeah, that is a good example, and they kind of just twist everything into their own usage. Everything they find out there is scrap metal, and that gives the army a lot of character for sure. So here's one that I'll bring up here. Let's see, I've got the image here, and thank you for GIFs out there. I'm gonna be playing a couple GIFs of it here. It's a creature from the movie It Came Without Warning. This is actually the official, unofficial inspiration behind the Predator movie. It's actually credited as an official inspiration, and it's this movie and this alien. Basically, it comes down and it's a hunter.
Tell us more about it.
It hunts humans for sport, and if you look at these funny little GIFs, it uses different things. Utilizes different weaponry and such for the hunt. So this is the classic inspiration, and I still need to check out this movie. Looks like a fun ride.
That does look something worth checking out. Though, considering it's supposed to be a hunter, the proportion of its head doesn't seem very fitting in comparison to the rest of its body.
Right, they gave it
the alien, but that's its aesthetic choice.
Yeah, they gave it that classic kind of alien look that you see so commonly, but then that whole different hunting aspect of it. So I think that's what they touched up with the Predator design. They knew they didn't want this kind of too intelligent and dependent on intelligent species, but more predatory or aggressive in nature.
Yeah.
So yeah.
They rounded up the Predator in terms of characteristics, whilst this went full blown on, I have awesome tech, you can do stuff against me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm back.
That looks pretty funny.
About that.
Hello.
No
also,
worries.
Super
Welcome back.
makes a pretty good mention the Halo alien, specifically the Hunters, which is basically a pile of worms inside a suit. Oh, a suit. That's also a pretty good accessory.
So, are we talking Dalek kind of a suit, or are we just talking actual suits?
OCD,
Because I feel
care
obliged to
clarify?
mention Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas, if this is the case.
Oh
Think-
yeah, he was
Yeah.
basically a sack of bugs, right?
Yeah, and that
And
was
at
a
least
really
one
cool
snake.
concept.
I heard that though he was like killed, and then because of the bugs that ate his like carcass, he was transported with those bugs, and they become basically his skin. And in order to keep them all in one place, he basically used that suit to keep them contained instead of just crawling around, exposing his carcass.
I think calling it a suit is a very generous term for that sack he was, but fair enough.
Pretty much.
I mean, if we are talking about Oogie Boogie, we should not be underestimate that he is actually using a lot of accessories, even if they are built on the home front kind of thing.
Yeah. Another monster that uses technology was those I can't really remember its name, but it was alien predator and a human hybrid. They were like the white predator looking things. But they also used weapons and gear, and they were intelligent like humans.
Oh boy. You know, when someone's intelligent like human, I have had this bad habit of being like that, not necessarily that intelligent.
Yeah, but we're at least smarter than dogs, are we not?
Alright, yeah. No, not all of us, but
Mhm.
hey,
Not all
listen,
of us,
I'm not one to... Everyone that listens to this stream is definitely clever. Let's all be honest, yep. You out there, you're amazing, just keep staying here.
So with you guys mentioning,
I'm not that smart.
Shh, don't tell them. They don't need to know.
Keep it a secret. Keep it a secret.
Well, you're doing a crazy good job about that.
so with you guys mentioning that suit, it made me think of the Independence Day aliens that utilize an organic suit.
Yeah.
I remember.
They had Independence Day too, right?
Yes, there was
the
one too.
Independence aliens, they definitely do need their suits, because without the suit, we literally just punch them in the face and they die.
Right. So
So
they've
they're
got
not
this
that
high
scary without the suit.
intelligence to them, to the point where they don't use their physical bodies much anymore. The interesting thing about the suit, when I did the video on them, I was still speculating how the suit is created and such, but I believe somebody told me that in the novel, they don't show this in the movie, they actually grow these suits, which was one of my thoughts. But I don't
you
remember.
speculated that they could have grown the suits in order to mass produce them in
Correct.
one of the videos, one of your earlier videos, if I'm not mistaken.
And I believe they do have farms to grow them, something like that. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
so if somebody in the chat can correct me. But that's a pretty cool idea, too.
Well, it certainly would diminish costs. I mean, if they had to make them and farm them, it's much harder than just cloning and growing them in a like liquid can or something. I don't know.
Right, and organic substance is easier sometimes and cheaper to recreate and reproduce rather than
Yeah.
armor made of metal and rare materials. So that is it's a really interesting approach that we should see more in the lore out there. It'd be interesting to see different takes on it.
Not to mention the biosuits are much easier to come by because you can just grow it. Where if you had a metal suit like an armor medieval suit,
Exactly.
yeah, like that one right now, you lose that metal if, let's say, your opponent kills your soldier. You lose that metal. You're not gonna get it back.
Right.
Where biosuits, you can just regrow it. It's not a loss at all.
You're right, and not just that, the opponent can take that metal suit and then you take advantage and learn how to use it themselves, whereas an organic one would be really more designed for a particular type of user. So.
And if it was to be removed and lost, it would just decay and not be useful to anyone anymore.
Right.
When speaking of monsters that use essentially tools, accessories, and I am inclined to bring up an oldie but a goldie from our second talk about shapeshifting monsters, the skinwalkers. from Native American mythos, as they technically do use either the furs or bones of other creatures in order to utilize their shape-shifting abilities.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Yeah. And that brings up other thoughts, like with magic utilizing type monsters like shamanic or druids or just wizards, having to use certain items in their rituals to do certain things. So in the same, scape as you just mentioned.
Sorry, lads. Just before we move on too far away from the subject, I see OCD, sorry, has made a very good point, and I would just like to say one more thing. I heard something about them trying to grow like human organs inside of pigs in order to get more donors instead of just having to wait on people and make a long list, and they can just grow it. But okay, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. OCD has a point. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Sorry about that.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, they're actually trying to grow human organs inside of pigs.
It was a pun.
Yeah, nice one. Nice slipping it in there like that. So, no, that is interesting, and that's part of 3D printing too, and where that technology is going.
Well, the sooner we can print organs, the cheaper it will.
Yep. And the sooner we can print, and the sooner we can print fleshy armor.
Well, I might just be old school, but I prefer good old metal over organic stuff.
Watch out, Z.
It's so much easier.
Watch out, Z. Procrastitron's got his eye on you. So.
Well, to be honest, more like, instead of a human suit, I would say something like more of a beetle-like suit. Because if you try and kill a beetle, you're going to see that it's pretty tough. So if they make like a beetle-type suit, that's going to protect you pretty good compared to, let's say, just an extra pair of skin on you.
That reminds me of the beetle armor in the Elder Scrolls games.
Is there actually beetle armor?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think we should skip to this just yet, but there are superheroes that uses these kind of things excessively. Batman. Sorry.
Would you call Batman a monster?
Oh.
I mean, I'm fairly certain there are some people out there that would consider him nothing less of a monster. Dum dum dum.
Sure, we could, but then we're gonna go with a lot of other superheroes, so to keep it limited, probably not for the discussion. But as far as the channel goes, anything really out of the ordinary, yeah, I'll add that in for the topic of monsters.
Superheroes, there are some quite literal monstrous. What's it called? Enemies or something? I cannot remember, but we have. If we move to comics now, we're opening a whole new can of things because
right.
Yeah, I mean, superhumans, can they actually count as monsters? I mean, you get someone like Iron Man. He's just a guy in a suit that's really rich, but then you get someone like, let's say, Cyclops from X-Men.
Right.
He's got literal laser beams. Does he count as a monster?
We kind of have to.
Cyclops.
Go ahead.
To answer about Cyclops, his superpower is that his eyes are portals to a dimension of infinite energy, and that's what he shoots out.
I didn't know that.
If we could topic into real life monsters that utilize tools, I think if we can move around perspectives of what is a monster and what not, humans are essentially the greatest monsters this planet has ever seen. That use tools.
Dum.
Sure.
Well, I mean, they are real monsters in human skin. I can tell you that much. I mean, you just see crime and it's like, holy hell, how can you do that without having second thoughts about your life? I mean, ish.
Right. And that'll be a future thing we'll be digging deeper into on the channel too. But for now, it's like what is out of the ordinary, Because like Jason, Freddy Krueger, but more Jason. I mean, we're gonna agree. A lot of people will agree that's a monster, but Jason is
he's like
human.
A zombie.
So it's extraordinary. That's what we'll consider monsters. A shark that's oversized, like Jaws, a dire shark that
Would the
reaches.
tornado be an accessory for the sharks in Sharknado?
Well, the what?
Sharknado is
but-
actually possible. Sharknado is actually possible because tornadoes can pick up extraordinary amount of weight. I just don't think that will be so terrible CGI.
Well, but the shark has to consciously be able to utilize that, so that's that would have to fall on
also
terms
true,
here.
Also true.
So we get a lot of mention in these monster casts on the Warhammer side of things, and I'd like to have a speaker with us that's more on the D&D side. I'd like to learn more and hear more things on the D&D aspects, because D&D lore is incredible as well, and I think it deserves some.
I actually got the Monster Manual book. It's so good, you know.
It is. It's
Explaining
awesome.
monsters and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But that's all I
monsters
got.
from Pathfinder, D&D, they can be difficult due to the simple fact that there are rules they simply do not follow, and then there are rules they simply do just ignore.
Mm-hmm.
Because what is an item when it's only magical in their hands?
Super OCD. Shark with lasers. I was just thinking about that when they mentioned Sharknado. So,
Oh boy.
one monster I do have up from D&D, and it is actually from Pathfinder, are the Anunnaki. And I'm sure you guys have heard of the Anunnaki from our stories and legends. But the D&D Anunnaki
Sorry,
take it to
not
another level. So,
Why don't you explain it for us uneducated folk and
Yes,
our
yes,
listeners
please.
that has maybe not heard of it?
So the Anunnaki are mentioned in old, tablets and just ancient scripts here on Earth, that they came down to Earth, they bred with the human females and things like that. So a lot of people believe that Anunnaki are from a different world that came here and maybe even created us. There's a lot of theory around it, but D&D, what I like they do is they add a lot of these cryptids into their lore just so you can play them in the game. And they took it to another level. So as you see the picture right there, you have the Anunnaki covered with this technology. Go ahead.
So basically, like the old ones from what's it called?
So
old
you
ones.
mean, so
The
Arthur,
Watchers.
you mean to tell me that these are basically big tech alien goth waifus? I'm down
Okay,
for that.
I got that one.
Score.
Should there be anyone that fits that description? That's necessarily without the tech. I'm single.
So, yeah, if you see the old pictures, and they're giants too. And in D&D, they're pretty
Big,
powerful
big tech alien waifus.
too. So,
You're gonna make me die from laughter here. Jeez.
Sorry. Isn't those Anunnaki referenced in ancient Egypt how there were some beings that were much taller than normal humans and they were almost like giant-like, and there was one pharaoh who was like a really big giant. And
The Nicola-V. No, not Nicola-V, sorry, damn it, it's something like that. Hold on.
Yeah,
I think it is
Nicola-V,
Nicola-V, isn't it?
let me see. I thought Nicola-V was a...
No, sorry, it's Nephilim. No?
Ah, yeah, the
Ah,
Nephilim.
Hold on, let me do... Oh, sorry, let me just do my research. Hold on.
Right. The Nephilim and the Anunnaki, they connect, and people that bring these kind of conspiracy thoughts to life say that they, again, they're the conspirators of this world that kind of created us and such. Yeah, so that side of things, that side goes deep. But back to the whole accessories and stuff, and particularly with this D&D one, because D&D is an ancient magical type of realm, right? It's not future, it's past, it's more medieval magic in theme. So it's cool to see this kind of really advanced, quote-unquote, race in the D&D books. You don't see too many of those in there. So...
Intriguing.
Sorry, the name is Nephilim. It's based.
hmm
That's what you talk about, but in the Bible, the Nephilim is like the offspring between the fallen angels and humans
Right.
that created like giants, and some of these giants had like fingers on each hand, and they grow up to around 30 meters tall. So basically, like Attack on Titan in real life.
hmm
Well,
These
that's
things.
The older thing is truest, so I trust the Egyptian scriptures more.
Right. Right. And that's where a lot of things
Was it
root
one of
from.
the Egyptian kings, the Nephilim?
Yes, that's what I was referencing.
Yeah,
It
sorry.
was, This was real giant.
Yeah.
Therefore, we can say that a lot of cultures speak of giants, but we do have to go back and look at the oldest ones, such as Mesopotamia, where all this stuff rooted, and then different cultures stole a lot of these ideas, and they did it with their religions as well. So we have to really ask which of these concepts really spawned in every culture simultaneously, rather than at one root source, if that made any sense.
Well, if
Unfortunately, sorry, Chris, you go first.
I want to, if it's while it is a very common concept, you could say, of giants walking about, but if so many cultures had such a thing occur with them, maybe there's a grain of truth of something that may have actually been around at the time.
Right.
Unfortunately, this kind of conversation is really on the religion side, and that's a very muddy water to walk through. And if we are going to go through that, that can spur really big conversations and very big arguments. Like
Sure, I mean, that is a topic
that,
for
other stuff.
that is a whole topic for another monster cast, and I'd be glad to touch upon that.
Monsters with accessories, I was just reminded of another quick thing, the whatchamacallit, the bears from the Golden Compass series with their armor.
Oh, yes.
Oh boy.
Oh, yeah.
The
That's
best
a long
scene in
time
that
since the
movie.
last heard that.
Yeah, no, that's a throwback if I've ever heard one. Jeez.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see another movie, a sequel there. But yeah, their whole armor was a big part of who they were. So that's a good mention.
Yeah, it
Yes,
was
their
their
souls.
dignity. It was
Mhm.
like their honor and their dignity. If you
Right.
lost that, it was pretty much like, yeah, you're worthless, you're a bum. You don't exist.
If I recall correctly, the bears both forge that armor out of meteorites or star metal, and that armor is
Yeah.
also their souls somehow.
I think it represents their souls. I'm not sure. It's like, don't quote me on this, but I think it's more like a figurative. It's like
Mhm.
you forged that armor. It's yours personally. If it's lost, it's like you lose part of what you made.
Right.
That's what I believe. I can't be quoted. I'm not too educated on that subject.
Which follows along actual occult practices, as a lot of these movies, the writers do have some occult knowledge on occult or arcane practices. In other words, magic spelled with a CK at the end. Because if you make your own, let's say, charm or your own staff, or you forge your own sword, you form a certain connection with that. That's why if you become a witch or something, you want to make these things yourself rather than buy it from someone else and imbue it yourself and such. You form a certain connection. So it's nice that they added that kind of mentality to the movie because, again, it's more logical in those themes. And again, that polar bear fight was the coolest part of that movie. Was unexpected, and that's a nice thing.
I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the Teletubbies.
What do they utilize?
Fun when you were a kid, but looking back on them, those things that don't
Creepy.
look right.
Go look at those things in like a black and white image and tell me that doesn't look creepy as hell.
Yeah, right.
I would rather not.
That's a good point. Put it all in black and white.
I'd rather not.
Then
Just
you got the
imagine
whole.
that face looking at you, black and white, no color. That thing says, "Out to eat you." Plain and simple.
It's weird. Then the whole baby in the sky face sun thing. All right. So, anything else that comes to mind? There's a lot of aliens out there. Of course, we can mention Mars attacks, but that doesn't really go into the theme here of actual accessories.
Yeah, that's the
Giving
image.
my
That's the
memory
image I was
of
talking
things.
about.
Nice. That's
But
artistic.
I'm blank. I honestly don't know anymore.
Well, we can
in a
always Sorry, Chris, go first.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Alright, what I wanted to say is basically, not only aliens use technology, like, let's say undead, for example, skeletons and that. You oftentimes see them with swords and stuff, and if they're intelligent, like, not only walking corpses, like zombies, then oftentimes they can use magic and staffs and stuff.
Right. But then now we're just going back to using normal, just items. Or I mean, armor and that. But you mentioned something interesting here because having the undead like skeletons, maybe they need a way to stay animate and formed so they don't fall apart into a pile of bones, and maybe they have to have some amulet. Again, we're going into, we got two sides of these accessories. We can go the magical side where you wear it and it keeps the bones together, for example, and it keeps the skeleton animate. And then we have the technological side of this where we talked with it pertaining to the predators, for example. So, but that's a good mention there with the skeletons.
The skeletons could also... Sorry. Damn it.
Please go ahead.
Alright, so back to the skeletons with armor and that. The armor could also be used to like keep the bones intact, but that's not really an efficient way because...
I mean, if we are talking monsters, in that kind of case, what about Cybermen? Cybermen had an episode called Dark Water, where there were skeletons inside, organic matter, so to speak.
I haven't seen that, so I can't talk
It
about
was
that.
the 12th Doctor and the return of Missy, or rather, the Master, if you will. It's a bit scary, but yeah, for the wrong reasons. But I will not go into that because The thing is that it has a certain element to it that basically, and I say basically, is just skeletons using technology. I know that sounds silly, but I'm sure you can follow me if you just...
It's not so silly, and again, it touches upon the Necrons very closely.
Yeah, exactly, and that's... that's me going to run.
OCD makes a good point. Damn it, Chris.
That is actually a good...
Spider Mastermind.
What I want to mention about also bring back again the topic of undead. Damn it, I forgot what I was about to say.
Backtrack your thoughts.
Oh, Super OCD's mentioning a spider mastermind. It's like a brain with a robe. Oh, okay. I'm not sure if you're referring to a specific one, but that's a pretty common theme. Like you got a big brain walking around in a kind of partially cybernetic kind of body, right? Robotic kind of body.
I mean, that's probably one of the oldest science fiction cliches, I dare say.
That made me think of
a good one. It's definitely one of the most characteristic ones.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, I've remembered it.
Okay.
So, once again, it's tied into both our topic of talking about dead things and into the Super Who Lock fandom, specifically the super part of it. From Supernatural, how you mentioned how the skeleton is really like an amulet or something to stay animated, how ghosts oftentimes get attached to certain items,
right?
In order to
like how they haunt stuff.
Yeah, in order to dispel the ghost or send it back into the afterlife, you have to remove all of its connection to the physical world, and these items need to be destroyed.
Like a phylactery, basically.
Yeah, and this also kind of fits into the whole the field of possession, you could say, with an inanimate object that just anchors them.
Does that really count? Does that really count? I mean, it's attached to it, but it's not really using the item as in. It's not
Right, but if it
intentionally doing it, is it?
if it becomes conscious in more of the realms of like movies, now we don't see in real life, but if it becomes conscious that it is dependent on this to exist, maybe it then turns and becomes dependent on that thing and protects it. So essentially it's using the curse or whatever it is to keep up its existence. So we could say a curse could even be a type of accessory, talking about inanimate type of accessory now.
Question: if ghosts haunting pictures and that counts, does like demons oftentimes use stuff like mannequins and porcelain dolls? Does that count?
I
Because
guess. I mean, we have Annabelle, if this is the case.
Yeah, good point.
That's
God,
what I'm
that
thinking
movie.
of.
Sure,
Yeah,
something.
no, I'm terrified of dolls. I wouldn't watch that movie in a million years.
So something in our animate world which they use to connect with us, because they're, say, in a different realm, so they can't reach out to us, so they use these different things, especially things that are connected with children because of the simpler, more innocent mind. So yeah, dolls, things like that.
Stuff I know from like my religion says like I'm referring back to the Nephilim. Nephilim were killed and then they ultimately became demons. That's where the split between demons and fallen angels comes. Is fallen angels were from heaven, demons were created on earth. Now demons require a body in order to use or interact with the physical world. In order to do that, they need a body, and a doll is basically a body because it doesn't have a soul, and it's pretty much it's got arms and it's got legs. It works. That's what we believe. Well, I believe.
Okay. Let's see. Boss F.
You guys are back to Megatron again.
Megatron? Oh god, Megatron is not a monster. He's a misunderstood genius.
Speaking of...
Never mind.
No.
Never mind.
I mean your voices. You guys are stuck again.
Speaking of the undead and skeletons and such and zombies, we also have another inanimate monster type that's often forgotten about when you talk of undead, and that's other animated stuff such as elementals, like an animated flame or an earth elemental walking about. Sometimes they have a specific thing that animates them too, some kind of crystal or organization of crystals, a certain puzzle that once it's organized in the perfect
I didn't know elementals counted as undead.
animates them.
I thought they were just magic surrounded by that certain magic.
Right, they're kind of magical animations. So, right, not necessarily undead.
Yeah.
It's a whole separate area, for sure. King Ramses bound by his slab.
That's kind of weird and terrifying at the same time.
Now, let's see. And you guys can jump back into this anytime you feel, if you remember some other monster. But another part of these monster casts we always do is we cover some kind of real-life monster or animal that can relate to this kind of stuff. Can you think of any animals that utilize certain things?
Apes?
Sure.
I mean,
Apes are pretty much the only animal that uses tools. I mean,
hermit
get beavers
crabs.
that smash eggs against rocks in order to eat the egg. But
Hermit
pretty much
crab.
from that, I don't know any other animals that use.
Hermit
Oh,
crab,
hermit
says
crabs.
Z.
Sorry, go on.
Hermit crabs, yes.
Hermit
There's a
crabs.
few out there, and you'd be surprised, because people always refer to as apes or chimpanzees are the ones that use tools, but there's actually other things, other animals that utilize accessories, shall we say, as well.
Then again, there
That
is
is
a
the,
worm. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You again.
Nobody's
I'm
going
lagging, so
ahead.
please go.
I want to mention, similar to hermit crabs, there's this type of octopus that lives close by to beaches, and it makes itself a shell out of coconut, like broken in half coconuts.
That sounds
Nice.
awesome.
Respect to those octopi.
I just wanted
Octopodes.
to point out that
Octopodes.
OCD's got a good point.
There's a type of bug that wears other bugs' dead bodies as camouflage. Nice. And as far as using something else out there as camouflage, there's quite a few things out there. It's hard to bring things up to mind right now for me, but that's actually a really cool one, Super OCD. That'd be cool to see in the, I don't know, just
Beavers?
more in some lore.
Theoretically, yes, they are constructors of nature.
Otters, yep.
Ants, guys. They're building things and using their
Birds,
that's a natural ability.
weavers.
They're not really using tools, are they? They're basically just digging with their mandibles, carrying food of their stingers. That's pretty much it,
Procrastitron
aren't they? I mean,
mentioned
they don't
beavers and
go use
birds.
a stick to bang something.
Yeah, how many animals out there create nests and actual homes for themselves?
Hey, guys, we forgot the most impressive monster of all time that exists in reality. Spiders.
Sorry, what? Spiders?
Spiders.
Oh, they're not so bad.
Ah, okay.
That is valid.
Not so bad. I gotta mention the honey badger. They've practiced some they've been observed to shown quite a bit of intelligence. There's a documentary out there. There's quite a few probably about honey badgers. If you haven't studied or looked into these guys, they're really awesome.
Aggressive.
Yes, they're tough, they're aggressive, they're of the weasel family, so they've got the double benefit of stench and, well, aggressiveness, power.
They're
Just like
vicious.
Wolverines. And
They're vicious, plain simple.
they are vicious, and they will stop at nothing to get what they want. And, yeah, but they've shown some real
There's a
intelligence.
worm here.
Couple things.
Sorry, Alfred. There's a worm here in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of its name right now, but it basically uses like tiny sticks and then makes its nest out of these sticks and silk, and it uses it as a turtle shell. It's pretty strong, I gotta admit. I actually forgot about it.
Wow. Silkworms. There's another one. Talking about creatures that make their own materials, there's worms or beetles that create a kind of slime that they cover themselves with so that ants and no other predatory insects or animals attack them. So there's things like that. That's one of the reasons why snails also produce so much slime. Crows, Procrastitron says, crows, researchers have even discovered that crows might learn to drop stones in pitchers to raise the height of water inside. Wow, that's impressive.
Crows are interesting creatures because not only do they do a lot of smart stuff. Crows actually go back to see their aging parents once in a while. Weirdly enough, they remember. They can actually remember people. They can remember faces, how someone has treated them, and respond in kind. But the thing I like most about crows is something they do against around other bigger birds of prey or other big creatures. Where if a creature is eating, a crow would go around, pull its tail to make it turn around, and in that time it swoops and grabs its food. And for the longest time, people thought it was just to steal food, but actually it was not too long ago, it was a bit a while ago, that they discovered that oftentimes crows would actually do that to essentially pull pranks because it made them feel good doing that. So,
Bully birds, basically.
So on one hand, you have only two creatures in the world that essentially wage organized war, humans and chimpanzees. But along with humans and crows, you also have two creatures in the world who like acting like pricks to others for personal enjoyment.
That's where it gets really interesting, is once they start acting or having habits for the simplicity of just humor, of fun. That shows quite a sign of a specific type of intelligence in these creatures, where they don't just do it for survival, for hunting and such. Procrastinatron also said elephants. Anecdotes suggest they can intentionally drop logs or rocks on electric fences to short them out and plug up water holes with balls of chewed bark to keep other animals from drinking them away. So, in basically saving them for themselves. Asian elephants are even known.
I've seen multiple videos of elephants dropping logs on cars, but that's as far as it goes. My intelligence does.
He continues, Asian ones are even known to systematically modify branches to swat at flies. That's interesting. To really modify the actual branch, maybe fan it out a little bit, breaking them down to ideal lengths for attacking the insects. Super OCD posted a picture of the bug that's covered with corpses of, looks like, ants, and that's a assassin type of beetle.
Bug.
That is very cool. I have not seen that one yet. Love it.
That actually looks like an assassin bug.
It is. It does look like a certain species of it. And it looks like a younger molt, too, because it looks like the older molt would have more of the chitinous covering, but this one looks like, when you look under the corpses there, it doesn't have much of a hard covering, so it looks like a younger molt maybe does this, and then the older molts have a more powerful carapace. Pigs use mud as sunscreen. Yep. And, these animals also use mud to keep flies away. That's another utilization there. So there's a lot. Once you get into it, you can find probably more than in movies with monsters.
A lot of elephants, they eat clay deep underwater. And in order to get to that clay, they use their trunks to blow away the mud out of the water. And then just eat up the clay. It apparently enriches their blood.
Oh, really? That's interesting. I wonder what it does for their digestion. Maybe it helps with that as well, since they're herbivorous.
Google does not say that.
I mean, there are lots of things that elephants can do that we cannot, for the simple reason that it is a really, 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 really different creature from how we work.
Yeah.
Procrastinatron.
And their ears are much more powerful than ours.
You could also add creatures using tools in a way you can add that to the clownfish who use the anemones both for defense and housing.
Sure.
I think that's more of a symbiotic relationship.
Right. That's that was more along our last one of our last monster casts, right? But still, it's.
Last one was about silly monsters, so.
Oh yeah. So the prior one.
I'm not sure this counts, but on I think it's Ant Canada, he's actually got like plants. It's pitcher plants, and his ants would throw their corpses inside of the plant. Then it would digest those corpses, and then secrete a liquid that the ant does. That's also kind of symbiotic.
Nice. I love how complex these processes
get. There
get.
are several reasons for why animals can work together in weird ways, and there's several undocumented and documented ways for this to work, but unfortunately, there's just too many to actually mention all of them within a sensible amount of.
Procrastinatron mentioned alligators allowing sticks and twigs to drift upon them so that birds can come down and pick up the twig or whatever, and then they can devour the bird. So that's clever.
They are crocodilians are practically the smartest amongst the reptiles, I believe. So
it depends on the factor. I mean, they're one of the oldest of the species, so they've been around for a while, so they know what they're doing basically. But you've got like the savanna monitor lizards that are exercising a lot of intelligence and solving kind of simple puzzles now. So that's fascinating to see where that goes. And I think what we are doing too. Yes.
Sorry, this is kind of drifting off the point to something we said earlier. And I'm just wondering now. Something like, let's say Megalania, the giant lizard, that's supposedly extinct, and Megalodon.
Mhm.
Those are both extraordinarily large animals. Do they count as monsters or just large animals, plain simple?
For this channel, like dinosaurs, I'm gonna add that in. They don't follow the typical thing, but if they existed with us now, they would be a kind of monstrous thing. So yeah.
If it looks to munch on you for dinner, I'd say it's a monster.
Okay, so Megalania counts, and Megalodon's been extinct for a little bit too long, so that doesn't count.
Yeah. I'm considering doing a dinosaur or a prehistoric section on the channel as well. There's been mentions of that.
Yeah, nice fit. Nice fit.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
so what I was talking about now, which is interesting because we're talking about the animals and utilizing things. There's a certain thing that we do as a human species, and that is we, what is the word? Domesticate animals. We domesticate wild animals. We see that with dogs now. They're domesticated to the point where they wouldn't be able to survive in the wild. Same with cats and
like dogs.
Same with
cows.
A variety of other
cows.
Animals, right? In the ranches, and we keep doing this unknowingly. So, for example, I like to keep a lot of exotic type of animals. Like I'm into lizards. I have been my whole life too, and that's part of the reason why I created this channel. Snakes, all that kind of thing. And what I'm starting to realize and notice with even snakes, because reptilians don't have, or reptiles don't have certain parts of the brain developed to feel things like emotion. But personally, I believe in looking at science and how it works with adaptation, evolution, the factual evolution now, is that this part of the brain will slowly start to develop. Corn snakes and, for example, ball pythons are among the most common pet snakes, and they're starting to develop, it seems, this part of the brain. So I believe in say, 50 years, 100 years of us keeping these and breeding them, we're going to develop snakes that are like puppy dogs eventually. They're going to start to develop that part of the brain.
That would be absolutely amazing, because I like reptiles.
Is that really possible? Cool. I mean, snakes are aggressive by nature, and just the wrong user, let's say someone that's just a little bit too negligent with a snake, is gonna get bit at some point.
Well, no, they're not aggressive by nature. They're not aggressive by nature. They're predatory by nature. There's a lot of snakes that aren't very aggressive at all. But a lot of the venomous ones are aggressive by nature because, well, they're designed in a certain way.
I myself am quite fond of reptiles, but I would rather not have a snake in my house. If I were to ever watch a reptile, I would prefer to have like a big, dumb-looking iguana that's a vegetarian. Or what are those also big lizards called that they have very wide cheeks and they're oftentimes used, but they're very calm?
Turtles!
No, not turtles.
Not turtles.
Sorry, I just was thinking.
You specifically said lizard, didn't you?
Turtle. Turtles are amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, try snapping turtles.
I'm a big fan of all the cold-blooded stuff. Okay, so without drifting too far, and the lizard you're referring
not monitors, those are a bit dangerous. I was referring to the Argentinian.
The tegus. And you just leveled up. I gotta give you a watermelon.
That's an awesome-looking lizard right there.
Yeah,
what
those
about
are
salamanders. No, salamanders do not use any kind of accessories besides flavors.
Those are.
Besides what?
Nothing. Don't mind.
They have
me,
the big
just
jowls.
It was a 40k reference. Do not mind him. You cheeky Necron.
Those guys are called.
It's just he cut out, so I couldn't hear him.
Those guys are called tegus, and they're separate from the monitor species. They do show a lot of intelligence. That's why people love these guys. They're one of the top pet lizards. If you want a little bit of a bigger lizard, they're intelligent. They'll follow. They'll come to you if you call them. There's a family on YouTube a couple that have their lizard on there. It's called MacGyver. Their whole channel is around that one lizard. So they are very cool. They're intelligent. They just have a great character. Like, you can actually pet them. They'll lay on you and sleep like a fat,
adorable.
happy cat.
There is a salamander type. It's the largest salamander there is. It's practically blind. It's nocturnal. It has electromagnetic
It's a lap
sensory
lizard.
organs similar to a shark on its forehead, and that's how it uses to hunt. It senses vibration in the water instead of actually seeing its prey. It basically just sits there, walks around, and then says, "Oh, here's something moving in front of me. I should bite."
So I guess we could say the environment is a kind of accessory in this case of our kind of open topic. So scorpions are another one. They solely basically depend on the vibration of the ground when they're hunting.
Yeah,
Or
they're not
stalking,
very good at,
ambushing, more or less.
seeing. Yeah.
What you're referring to, Jago, is the giant Chinese salamander, I believe. And
Right, there's a
those-
hellbender.
Yeah, that's the
meters
one. That's the
length.
one. That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to... That one... I think in the future that one's going to be appearing more in the pet trade, because I'm still surprised people aren't breeding and keeping these guys, because I'd love to have one.
Bingo.
But
The
they are
giant
rare.
salamander specifically, I think the reason they're not bringing it's an endangered species due to
Yeah, I think that's
destroyed. And
Hey,
I
the
think it also
panda
had
is no
some
longer
toxin.
endangered.
It is
We
endangered.
can
but it's
now
also a bit
finally
toxic.
shoot them and stuff them.
Well, a lot of things are.
Yeah,
Toxic.
until they're endangered again.
But there's also a local one in the U.S., and that's the hellbender. That's another big one. Let me see if I can bring that one up. That's a cool name, too, hellbender. You can certainly
Sounds like some
monsterize
sort
that
of
one.
angel.
There you go.
Sounds like some sort of divine soldier. Like, I'm gonna bend the hells.
It's a crazed paladin.
Yeah.
Hellbender.
Hellbender, that sounds like a paladin of Slaanesh to an extent.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I'm going to make hell bend over. Mm.
Yeah, that's exactly
Right,
what I'm
that's a
saying.
naughty thing. Or the Dark Eldar.
Just your version's much more dirty than mine. Mine was like superhero talk. Yours is like bend over.
Oh, Lord,
You
the
know you want
hellbender.
it.
Okay, so anything else on the specific topic, somewhat specific topic here you guys have in mind? We're
Aliens that utilize very advanced aliens, but I wouldn't exactly call all of the aliens that have advanced technology monsters. Because
That's
I
the
was
thing.
initially-
When they turn into aliens, it's bordering upon intelligent, sentient life, and that's
right.
not necessarily a monster.
Well, see, that depends again. So that's why with this channel, and I've made that a couple times, that statement, what makes a monster here, because of course people have different definitions of it. So for this channel, I'm not saying my particular thoughts or you guys's. For this channel, World of Monsters, anything sort of out of the ordinary. So we're going to add aliens, angels as monsters, because angels aren't evil, right? They're not
Mutants.
bad. But we'll see them in bestiaries. We'll see them in things like D&D bestiaries. So anything kind of out of the ordinary that's animate in some way or another. And again, dinosaurs I consider monsters because if we put them into our environment now, they would be out of the ordinary. They're not in the right time, not in the same possible level of gravity. So
Arthur, strangely enough, there's actually cave paintings of humans and like long necks in the same stuff, and they found fossilized dinosaur skin somewhere. I'm not sure where. And it's very
that would
interesting.
be a huge topic, yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
we have fossil or frozen mammoths, and they're working on breeding those and getting the 100% strain or the 95% strain mammoth, and that's taken a while. That's been in process for a while. So
Having mammoths back as domesticated species would actually be quite useful. Their wool would be super useful. Like, you know, you have a lot of meat. And also
forklifts.
that too. That Flintstones
but that's the
reference,
thing.
there's
That's the thing. You mentioned meat
but,
being part of
there's
it.
also
Mhm.
the fact that they would open up a lot of space for arable ground because the places they inhabit, Siberia, that region, that's a little bit further north than what we normally have. Presently, it is all covered in moss and frost.
Mhm.
But back in the day when there was megafauna that actually went about, it essentially fulfilled the same function creatures do in African savannas right now. The megafauna would tromp around, eat all the moss and whatnot, and
Mhm.
by going about kept the place in check and was actually
Fertilized.
pretty
Well, that's
plentiful.
the thing. There's a remarkable difference between having a giant animal and a garden trimmer. What's it called? A garden?
A
So
lawnmower.
if
A
mammoths
weed
were...
whacker.
Yes.
But if so,
I'm
if mammoths
Danish,
could
okay?
be...
It's a grass feeding machine to me.
Don't worry, don't worry.
But if mammoths and because there's one guy who has tried to reintroduce like cows and other large herbivores to the area too, and he's had limited success. But if like mammoths and stuff could be brought back to that area, it would open up a lot of arable land where we could grow food.
Okay.
So we could destroy less habitats in other places.
But it would also
Right.
kill a lot of plant life that wasn't there when the mammoths were alive. And now
Right, it's hard to
exist.
predict what effect it would have on the whole ecosystem, but that idea of
Yeah.
fertilization is pretty interesting and important in our diminishing.
Question. I know I'm going off a little bit now, but like the new Fallout game, does mutant animals count as monsters? I know they're like
Sure, for sure.
abnormal, but they're not really that abnormal. They're just big bugs, basically.
Yeah,
like a
they
giant
count.
mosquito or something.
They count here, definitely. Now we're over an hour already, guys. So this is the time where I mentioned before people stop listening to us, if they even started to begin with, is what our next topic should be for discussion.
I vote Nephilim.
I think Chris mentioned, and a couple of you guys agreed on movies, monster movies. Just discuss it. Just have a free for all.
Yeah.
You mentioned Nephilim, and I remember Procrastitron mentioned something, and I forgot now. In the courtyard, we were chatting. What did you mention, Procrastitron? Can you type it out for a possible next topic? It was a good idea, too. Monsters with rules.
You
Yes.
should really make like a list, like a little notebook saying, okay, this would make a good
Monsters
subject.
that
This would
eat
make a good
humans?
subject.
That's a big one. So Procrastitron, the one we talked about before too, guys, which is a pretty good topic, maybe not for next one, but sometime, is monsters that follow a particular rule. For example, a type of demon or vampire that you have to invite in order to have it wreak havoc in your house and attack you. Or the Wishmaster, which has ultimate
Oh,
power,
a monster with rules.
but can only tap into it when you wish for something. So yeah, monsters that follow a particular thing like that.
Rule set.
Structure, yeah, rule set. So we got 3 topics. So what do you guys think? What do you vote for?
I think we should let the community vote because on this specific, all of them are great topics, and right now on the spot, I am not able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot.
Maybe
To
we
be
could
honest,
put up
I
a
think
vote on
that
YouTube.
movie Monsters would be a better topic at the beginning, but it's all good topics and it would all really take a long time to
Not
investigate.
exactly movie monsters. I thought we meant like to discuss movies specifically that have monsters.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
that
yeah, just
general
mention
area.
some. Sure. We'll see what kind of weird ones we
I
can
think
find
Chris
out
is
there.
onto a ball right there.
Okay, so let's leave it to the viewers in the comments.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure if this will end up on YouTube. I still want to figure out how I want to do these. Okay, so
Although,
Comment.
for forewarning to people who want to vote talking about movies, if you give me an opportunity to rip into the Predator, I will take it.
Well, as long as we start talking about any more things, Necron, I'm going to go for another hour free. So
Many
Go
spoilers
ahead, guys.
are coming.
start it in the comments. Do your rants. Do your Necron stuff there. That's always a
So
welcome.
basically, if you want to hear spoilers, just give them the opportunity to talk about Predator.
So here are the three choices again, people. Go ahead and vote in the comments. If we don't get enough answers or any votes or whatever, then I'll let you guys know here in Discord which one we'll go with next, and talk with you guys. So the three options are talk about monster movies, try to find out what cool ones are out there, what else. Rather than digging deep into each one, just see like what kind of cool ones are out there that maybe you haven't been heard of. The second topic would be monsters that follow a particular rule set. And the third one would be monsters. Super OCD mentioned tiny monsters that eat humans. We can do something like that too. And the other one was what? I forgot.
Can we please not talk about tiny things that eat things?
Why?
I think the fourth one was the monsters that could be real. The stuff that's every religion has it, so it could be based on something that was real.
Oh, right. You mentioned the Nephilim.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that's all
Monsters
cryptids, so that's
real.
cryptozoology in essence. So there you go, guys. Choose one. If you guys don't choose in time, then we'll choose something together among ourselves here, among these us elite monsterites here that hang around Discord, I guess. So anybody want to mention anything else before we jump into the create your own and finish up with the podcast monster cast? This has been
No, I think I've covered everything I'm aware of.
okay.
I'm currently unable to think of any more unless we're going into superhero territory, and that's dangerous territory, if anything.
What happened to
That's
Super
gonna take a
OCD?
long time.
What happened to
Exactly.
Super OCD's
And
voice?
that's just my limited knowledge about that.
You
Utilize.
can just write an entire book about xenomorphs, the symbiotes from Spider-Man. That alone is a big topic.
And xenomorphs, since you mentioned them, they do utilize their own acid. They're aware of that. We've seen that on a couple occasions, at least.
They can even inherit abilities from their previous users. Like, let's say one was to use Cyclops, for
and-
example, again. Now he's not my favorite superhero, just for in case. But they can actually inherit abilities.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, now, what about your own creations, guys? Do you want to share anything that's related to this topic that you would like to see created or have created in the past, whether it's story or art?
Well, something I'm not sure how much it counts as a monsters, but Alien. I was at a time where I was all about stuff that absorbs things, and I was thought up of it's an alien race, yes, oddly similar to humans that can turn its body into various types of metal. And as you progress in social stature, you're able to turn yourself into better types of metal. Essentially, you could shapeshift like the symbiotes. They could shapeshift their limbs into various weapons, blades, and
Weapons.
whatnot. But essentially, a warrior-like race that goes about taking over the galaxy or something like that, and they can turn their entire bodies into metal. I will admit.
So basically the blob.
No, I was thinking more along the lines of, Kevin Levin from Ben 10.
Oh yeah, I know.
How he could absorb like metal and turn his body into various materials.
He absorbed the energy in the stuff, and then that's how he also was able to absorb the Omnitrix. He absorbed the energy, and then that gave him the multiple.
Are we
aliens
talking
in
about
his
Kevin
stuff.
11 from the second series of Ben 10?
Yes.
The
Yes.
second series, when they were teenagers, not the new stuff where they're basically babies.
Basically, my inspirations for that thing is in terms of what they can do, what Kevin Levin did, but with like metals exclusively, the society is based on what kind of metal you can turn into. The stronger, the more elevated your position in society is.
Nice.
But the main inspiration was the Man of War song "Warriors of the World," because I couldn't help imagine
Right
they're
on.
brought to. I couldn't help but like this race is brought down to almost the brink of extinction, but it gets back, it unites, fights back whatever was exterminating it, and goes on a galaxy conquering crusade or something like that.
You know, this brings up the monster type that we talked about in our transformation monster cast, monsters that transform, the Transformers. Because don't Transformers essentially kind of find a certain technology and then, like a hermit crab, but more so...
Shapeshift into it.
Yeah,
will take upon
that's an entirely
the
new
form.
kind of worms for explaining how that works, because in at least Michael Bay movies, they explained that they based all of Earth's technology on Megatron, that was fallen down, but that's kind of bullshit.
Right.
Question, why is Megatron the only one that uses space technology? Like, he's the only one in this first movie was a jet, in the second movie is like a tank thing. But everybody else is like, no, hell, we're gonna take a truck. It doesn't have any weapons, no nothing. Nah, it looks awesome.
Well, that's probably because that Megatron was supposed to be... I mean, everyone else looked for Megatron.
Maybe
and, they couldn't do that in the Cybertronian form.
Right. Maybe they're limited by, one, what they find in time, but their energy level is limited to what kind of complex technology they can take advantage of, and that's what makes Megatron Megatron. That's why he doesn't take upon a radio, but rather a more complex, bigger thing that maybe the other Transformer entities don't have enough power.
The thing is that Megatron on his own is double the size of, let's say, an average Transformer.
I see. So
Jazz.
what is...
Jazz was, like, tiny compared to...
So what is his real form, then? What is his original form, not being based off of human technology? What does it look like?
Well... Oh, God, we're talking Transformers now. Oh, I must
okay, quick answer.
Oh boy, he's twice the size, or at least twice the size of most other Transformers. And let's be honest, if we're talking Michael Bay universe, we are basically not going to look for anything that is coherent. Because holy fucking snit.
Yeah. Every movie has its new technology that they're looking for. This one has an amulet, this one has a key, this one has a cube.
Right, that's why I'm
like,
this one has a fucking pyramid.
That's why I'm trying to look at the original lore, which is the anime. But I don't think they have...
At least we had one with dinosaurs.
An original form.
I mean, that was probably...
Okay, whatever.
Question, has anybody noticed in the anime Transformers that Optimus Prime's legs, the trailer, just disappears? It just...
Really?
It's gone, and then when he transforms back, it just reappears. It's like, hello,
wow.
I'm back.
Yeah, that is definitely an accessory, but Optimus Prime is Optimus Prime. I really don't think that we can hold him accountable for anything other than being awesome.
Yeah, he just dies and comes back, like every movie. Seriously, yeah, that happens every movie. He dies and comes back. He's immortal.
Most of the time.
Too many horror movies like that. So, I would like to see more. I always like when you're playing a game and you do encounter a specific material or something and you find out how a certain race created it. So, as far as our topic here, I would like to see more of that in games and movies because it adds another dimension to materials and things.
I feel like I should mention something because I'm in the middle of reading, e.g. hear it as listening to the Silmarillion due to the fact that I found it as an audiobook, and by God, if there ever was anything in this world that, was complicated and descriptive, it would be the Silmarillion, and I mean nothing evil about that. Tolkien did an excellent job of writing it, but Jesus Christ, Shepard, there's a lot of things in there.
Guys, I can't believe I forgot about this, but we could, sorry to extend the time, but I just recalled arguably the ultimate race of monstrous creatures that utilize technology and various tools, both scientific and magical nature. No. the Skaven.
Dum dum. Yeah. I mean, yeah,
They're
you
not
should be
as
ashamed,
even.
Chris.
Rat
Yep.
people, like, on their own, they're just rat people that are about a little over half the size of a human. They're physically weaker than humans. They're not that scary.
Right.
But when they get their hands on stuff they make, oh boy.
Yep.
Now that turns them truly monstrous.
Well,
Let's be honest.
they seem to be clearly inspired by the themes of gnomes too, and gnomes we can consider as, well, monsters here too, and dwarfs in some fashion, which we've seen to utilize technologies in a different lores. So it's that small size that has this, that utilizes this particular thing or technology kind of idea. And yeah, and I like where Warhammer really pushed that with the Skavens. They did a good job with that.
And to contrast them, you do have the Chaos Dwarves, but they are on a bit of a different. But the Skaven are just on a whole nother scale, and because they excel in basically every field. Like, you have mutation and genetic experimentation. They're on top of that. Technological advancement of weaponry and research. They're on top of that. And it's just so good.
I will say to you, Chris, that calling the Skaven anything along the lines of specialized and what's called ordered is a vivid what's it called, exaggeration. But yes, when you have enough mud throughout the wall, you build a ramp over the wall, and you don't care what the wall was in the first place.
Who said ordered? Like, while the Skaven, like, to explain them, their goal is to always build a bigger or better bomb, or at least bigger. Like, anything a Skaven makes, it's likely going to explode in your face and kill you. You look nice whilst it does so.
I was just thinking what they're...
Michael Bay exposed.
I was thinking a good comparison with the Skaven is like Skavens are to, let's say, gnomes, not in Warhammer, but in other kind of lore out there. So Skavens are to gnomes as orcs are to space marines. It's like they utilize the similar type of technology, but it's so rugged and crude. You know?
That's the thing that I don't think there's anything quite like Skaven in other fiction, because you can make the comparison between Skaven and gnomes, but that's in the case of technology specifically, their technology is not only unstable when compared to something else, but it's just so much more lethal. Even just standing around it is
I mean, the thing is that, Chris, I think you're trying to say that Warhammer is a grimdark universe per no extent, and while World of Warcraft and other such universes has a fairly chance of surviving a laboratory blowing up, Warhammer, that's most likely going to kill whatever was inside. The thing is that this is happening on a daily basis in the Skaven. We're talking literally every single 10 seconds there's an explosion somewhere in Skaven Blight, and the Skavens are going to die in the thousands every single day.
That's a lot of money that goes to waste.
That's
labs
not
are
money.
not cheap.
I know, but holy fucking shit, they don't care. Everything is cheap in the Skaven army, especially lives. Slaves and lives are very cheap.
They breed like rats.
Yeah, they have mastered a kind of what's it called? They have done the impossible. They have filled every single hole in their own little flawed society with more corpses of the dead. And if they cannot fill it, they use warpstone, and warpstone does solve a lot of problems when used correctly. And if there's anyone in the fantasy universe that is going to be able to utilize warpstone in such a fashion, that would be the Skaven, because they don't frankly care about the consequences.
All right. One accessory or natural accessory that I think is largely used, maybe overused in particularly the fantasy world, kind of what you were mentioning there, is the crystal. Can't forget about crystals.
Yeah, crystals has
Gems.
become this mythical thing of this is how it works, and this is not why it works, but this crystal here does it.
Mm.
Isn't that every game?
In our Twitch, we didn't have too many comments there, but Dande, Double Dande, who's a member here too, Monsterite, he mentioned that he will watch this later. Didn't have good enough internet. Okay, now before we jump too deep into Warhammer, as that's where usually these things lead to. Anything else, guys, before I wrap this up, because we're on an hour and a half, and of course, we're welcome to continue here. I just want to limit the video size so we can stay here and chat. But anything along the lines of our topic today that you wanted to blast off? Shoot out?
I've got one. Sorry, this is throwing it a little back now. Devastator from Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? I mean, all the Transformers were single. There were single parts, and Devastator just comes here and he's multiple cars, and then just fuses into one.
Yeah, so... yeah, another disruption in the lore. Or again, right, I see what you mean. He's an amalgamation of different technologies. So maybe just a more complex energy entity again that has the ability to do that. All right, and a moment of silence.
Yeah, you guys are... I can't hear you guys as much. I hear you guys as you finish your sentences, and that's it.
I think it's the cue to wrap things up. So...
yeah.
Thank you guys for the chat again.
It's midnight here.
We're approaching Monstertober in a couple days here. October, it's our biggest month on this channel. And every October, if you didn't know, I run a monster art contest. Anybody can join. Just watch out for the topic. I'm going to post a video on that soon on our channel on YouTube. What that topic's going to be. And I think the prize is going to be I have to see my fundings, but a grand total of $100 among 3 top winners. So I'm thinking the top winner $75 or so. PayPal or Amazon gift card, whatever works for you where you are. So I'll post details on that. If you have some good ideas for a monster art contest, do let me know later. Comment or message me or something. So for our next topic... we're going to have you guys decide. I'm going to post an update before next weekend on what that's going to be on our community section and over here in the event section on our Discord. I'm thinking we'll probably do our next Monster Cast next Saturday. What do you guys think? Would you like to skip a week or would you like to do it every Saturday? How do you feel?
I'm fine.
I don't know yet.
I think every Saturday would be good, because it would keep a routine and make a set date where if you skip, it would suddenly be... misspoke. Suddenly be an effect of, oh, sorry, I thought it was the next one.
Yeah, I will say that could be a potential danger for the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, because you'll have half of the crew just meeting up at one point and the other half at some point, because you wouldn't have a set thing where if you say, okay, every Saturday, you either make it or you don't make it. Plain simple.
Okay, for sure. Okay, yeah, we'll keep it every Saturday. And
well, until next time.
Have a good time.
Thank you guys for having me.
No problem.
Welcome aboard.
Great having you join in for the first time and hearing your voice. Well, it's not like we haven't before yet, as Dog Danzo has done some videos on our channel before. I advise you guys check that out.
Honest, that was recorded with a phone. So it's pretty much distorted entirely.
That is slander, Procrastinatron. I will take you to court over that.
And again, guys, I'm not sure if I will keep uploading these to YouTube or just Twitch. If they end up only on Twitch, they're going to be on there permanently. They're not going to disappear or something. So I need to still figure that out, how I want to do things with the channel and everything, and how much I can work on it and what, etc., etc. So everybody, thanks again for joining. You're welcome to stick around here. I know it's late where you guys are. I thank you for taking the time to
midnight.
join me on these.
It's not that late.
So,
I've gotta go. It's midnight here.
all right. Until next time, we'll meet again here, 2 p.m. Mountain Time, every Saturday,
All right.
over on Twitch and Discord. Until next time, stay monstrous, my friends. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Have a good day.
Goodbye.
Let's run an outro song. Damn it. I didn't prepare it. There it is. I'm just going to run this for a couple minutes to make sure that the lag and everything is catched up on Twitch and saved.
What is that music?
It's the music in your head.
Music feels so.
It's our symbiotic
I don't have
connection.
a soul.
Music in my head. That's a
now
really
you do.
nice spot to be.
You see, nobody in the world hears this music but us. You don't realize it. It's not actually running on the stream. It's all in our heads. This is how connected we are.
That's beautiful.
Then pretty soon you'll start hearing blood sea music. People screaming.
That sounds nice.
Okay, I gotta go. It's really late. I'm gonna wait. I keep laughing like this. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Have a good night,
Take care.
everyone. I'm popping off myself.
Alrighty, guys. See ya.
Play Pikmin, everyone. Is that it?
So, how are people? I'm just.
And you wasn't sure if it ended. So,
It did. I'm just waiting for the song to...
oh, it's back.
You guys can continue chatting. No worries. I'll stay here for a couple more minutes.
A bit tired.
I just noticed sometimes the stream doesn't get saved all the way to the end. So that's why I put this extra time here.
This is pretty gosh darn cool.
So, how are people?
You.
I'm hungry.
What? You?
You. You'd.
Good.
Good.
Right, sorry, I'm just on a server with
Fantastical.
an excessive amount of Nazi jokes, so I heard Jude.